Collaboration between product designers and engineers are essential to the success of any software product. In this video, I'll share my top 5 tips for working with engineers to ship amazing products. Tip 1. You speak like an engineer. Engineers love when designers understand basic technical concepts like APIs, system architecture, and performance constraints. It's not about becoming an engineer yourself, it's about knowing enough to communicate effectively. Here's an example. Let's say you're designing a feature that pulls live data from a third-party app. If you understand what an API is, you'll know this feature depends on the third-party app's limitations. Things like how often the data updates or what kind of formatting the API supports. This knowledge helps you set realistic expectations and communicate more effectively with your team. So take some time to learn the key engineering concepts related to your product. Start by asking questions in meetings, reading articles, or watching tutorials. Engineers will respect your effort and you'll feel more confident in conversations. Tip 2. You see engineers as your design partners. You should never be designing alone, especially in the beginnings of a project. The earlier you involve engineers in the design process, the smoother things will go. They'll help you identify technical challenges and opportunities before you invest time in high-fidelity designs. Here's what happens. If you don't involve engineers early, you might end up designing something that's technically impossible or way too expensive to build. Then you're back to the drawing board. By collaborating early, you can identify constraints, brainstorm solutions, and avoid wasting time. Let's say you're designing a new onboarding flow for your app. Share your initial ideas like sketches or wireframes with engineers during a brainstorming session. They might tell you, this animation is tricky, but here's a simpler alternative that achieves the same effect. Now you've saved hours of work and fostered a sense of teamwork. So never design alone and always share your designs early. Tip number 3. You design for feasibility and scalability. Engineers love innovative and beautiful designs as much as you do, but they also value practicality. Your design should not only look great, but also be easy to build and scalable as a product grows. Imagine you've designed a clean and minimalistic dashboard for your product. It works beautifully for the 3 core features the product currently has. But what happens when your product team decides to add 5 more features next quarter? Without scalability in mind, the one simple design can quickly become overwhelming for users. So always ask yourself, how will this design scale? Tip number 4, you're super organized in your design files. An organized Figma file and good documentation can save hours of back and forth during handoffs. Engineers need to know exactly how your designs should function in every scenario. If something's missing, they'll have to guess, and that's where mistakes happen. Let's say you're designing a payment confirmation screen. What happens if the user's internet connection is slow and the payment takes longer to process? Does the app show a loading spinner? Does it display a message reassuring the users to wait? To make life easier for engineers, document all these scenarios: loading states, error handling, success messages, for example. Specify what should happen in each case so they can build the logic exactly as you envision. The clearer your documentation, the smoother the hand. Tip number 5. You are your engineer's advocate. Collaborating with engineers is not just about going through the motion and checking the boxes. You're advocating for your engineers just as much as you're advocating for the users of your product. Here's a common scenario. The product team has big ideas, the designers have great visions, and reality hits. Engineering resources are limited. Deadlines are tight and not everything can be built right now. In moments like this, a great designer doesn't just push for their wish list. Instead, they partner with engineers to advocate for realistic, impactful solutions. Here's an example. Let's say an engineer tells you that a certain interaction will take twice as long to build as you expected. Instead of pushing back, ask questions. What makes this challenging? Is there a simpler alternative? This approach shows that you value their expertise and are willing to work together. Take time to get to know your engineers, respect their feedback, celebrate their contribution, and treat challenges as opportunities to collaborate. So, there you have it, my top 5 tips for working effectively with engineers. Speak their language, collaborate early and often, design for feasibility and scalability, prioritize clear documentation, and build trust by advocating for your engineers. By following these tips, you'll not only create better products, but also build stronger relationships with your team. Which of these tips do you find most helpful? Or if you have a tip of your own, please share it in the comments below. If you're an aspiring product designer looking to reinvent yourself as a product designer, watch the next video on my 7-step roadmap to becoming a product designer. Good luck on your career journey. I'll see you in the next one.